Is TEFL legit? Recently, I made a video classifying various TEFL courses because a lot of people had reached out to me asking, how do I know if TEFL is legit? Is this TEFL course a scam? So that video was an attempt to make the first inroads in trying to help people answer that question. However, as often happens, once you get the answer to a question, you actually get many more questions. And in the comments below that video, I got many questions asking about this course and that course and the other course. So today, I am starting to create the first video in a series of videos designed to answer that question. Is this TEFL course legit? Or how do I know if my TEFL course is valid? So to answer that question, I've come up with a framework, and I'm going to apply that framework to, probably the most famous TEFL course there is, the TEFL course which I have built this whole YouTube channel and indeed my website and a lot of my career around, and that is the Cambridge CELTA. So we're going to talk about the CELTA in terms of 5 criteria, and those criteria are: who validates it, and what is the effect of that? Is there a teaching practice component? I'm going to talk about why that's important in just a moment. Are there assignments on the course? Again, I will explain why that's important in just a moment. What is the recognition of this course nationally where you live, or indeed worldwide? And lastly, we'll talk about the financial aspect. What is the cost of the course? So let's ask ourselves these questions about CELTA. So first of all, validation. Who validates it? It's the University of Cambridge. Everybody has heard of that, from Tokyo to Vancouver and everywhere in between. It has this worldwide recognition. So when you go looking for a job as an ESL or ELT or English language teacher, and you say, I have a University of Cambridge certificate, well, first of all, people are going to know that that's the CELTA. And even if they didn't, which they will, just by mentioning University of Cambridge, that is going to up the recognition in their minds. On that, I should say, if you are applying for a job at a school that hasn't heard of CELTA, that's probably a good sign that you don't want to apply for that job. Because if a school hasn't heard of the industry standard course, then you can probably assume that their standards are probably not the greatest, and you might not have the best employment experience with them. So the next thing that we're going to ask ourselves when we're considering if a course is legit, or if it's valid, or if it's worth doing, is to ask ourselves the question, is there a teaching practice component? Now, on CELTA, the teaching practice component actually forms maybe the biggest part of how you are assessed. And I will say that this is very important because any of these courses, whether it be CELTA, the most famous, or Trinity Cert, TESOL, or any of the wide range of TEFL courses, including the International TEFL Academy, etc., all of these courses are designed in a short time to prepare you for teaching. And that means that these courses need to be quite practical. So they need to get you out of the theory and very quickly into the teaching practice component. Now, different courses offer different amounts of time dedicated to teaching practice, but if we see CELTA as the industry standard, well, there are 6 hours of teaching practice in a CELTA course, and those are spread over 2 distinct levels. So I would say that this is probably the minimum that you want to have as part of your teacher training course, or at least some equivalent, so that you will know that after that course, you will feel that you have had good enough classroom experience to jump into the real world of teaching. Okay, so the next component that I wanted to draw your attention to when considering if a course is legitimate or valid or worth doing is the question of assignments. So really, why do you have to do assignments? Well, assignments are there. On the CELTA course, there are 4 of them, and they are the language-related tasks, the skills-related tasks, the focus on the learner, and the lessons from the classroom. You have to do these assignments because they put you through the process of considering the theory and how it is applied in practice. Because as I just mentioned, the CELTA is a practical course, and by necessity, it needs to be practical. However, that practice needs to be underpinned or have a foundation of solid theory, and that's what the assignments are there to do. They're there to focus you on the learner, or teaching skills, or teaching language, or reflecting on your own progress from the point of view of published literature, resources, best practices, methods, approaches, and techniques. So you need to go through this part of considering this theory, writing about it in a formalized way, having feedback on it, and then pushing on from there to get into your teaching practice. The next component to think about when you're asking yourself if this course is legit or valid or worth doing is to think about recognition. Now, recognition, it lines up a lot with who validates it, but it does get its own particular category. And what I mean by recognition is, if you are to go abroad or in your own country, will that certificate be recognized as enough for getting you a job? Let me give you a particular example. In my own case, when I returned home to Ireland after having taught in France and Spain for a few years, I went looking for a job as an English language teacher, and I got a lot of interviews, and a lot of the interviews went really, really well, and people told me they wanted to hire me, but they couldn't because I didn't have a recognized certificate. This was actually the moment that started my whole career in the world of CELTA. That pushed me to go and get my own certification at that point, and then pushed on to the rest of my career. But it was a kind of an extrinsic motivation or motivating factor there, because the industry in Ireland at the time, it was regulated. So there were laws and rules that said in order to work in one of these language schools, you needed to have a recognized certificate. And you can be sure that CELTA, where there is a ELT regulatory situation going on, CELTA will meet that standard practically worldwide. Now, I'm sure somebody can find an example of a country or board of education or government that doesn't recognize it, but I'm going to say 99% of the time where ESL or TEFL certificate is required, CELTA is going to more than fulfill that category. So the last area that we're going to talk about is that of cost. And before I jump in there, I just want to tell you about my regular question and answers session. If you have any questions that you would like to speak to me about, I host a weekly webinar that you can participate in with me and some of my colleagues, where we talk about CELTA, TEFL, being a digital nomad, becoming an online coach, and I answer your questions and provide advice on how best to push forward. I also provide some coaching and training in these sessions. So go ahead, click on the link below. It's going to bring you to my members community, which is a paid signed up service. However, you do get 7 days for free. So you can try it out, and you will get a free question and answers call with me, and then decide if you want to remain a member. I'm really looking forward to those out there watching this channel as it grows and grows and grows, which is very exciting, to join me and become part of the Integrated Skills members area, where we can help each other and where I'm going to provide teacher training and coaching for you to help you achieve your goals. Okay, let's get back to the video. Okay, so cost, this is probably the area where CELTA is not that strong, because CELTA is one of the more expensive TEFL courses. And this is what, often gets people thinking about considering some of the other courses. And there are some really great options out there. Now, just on CELTA, you're probably going to pay, on average, worldwide, somewhere between $2,000 and $2,500 US for a CELTA course. So if the TEFL courses come in more underneath $2,000, all the way down to maybe even below $1,000. And In this series of videos, I'm going to go through many different TEFL courses applying all of these standards, these 5 criteria for evaluating if a course is worth it, valid, legit. But from the point of view of CELTA, yeah, it's probably a little bit more on the pricey side, but you are getting bang for your buck, as they say. You're getting that recognition, you're getting those standards, not just in terms of the quality of the material, but the tutors as well need to meet a certain minimum standard in order to become a CELTA trainer, so you can be sure that you will get that quality that you're looking for. Okay, that's it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you look for when you're thinking about, or when you were thinking about, what's the right TEFL course for you? What criteria come to mind? Is CELTA right for you? Or maybe you've done one of the other courses. Let me know down in the comments below. As I said, there is a link in the description. Join up that members community, 7 days completely for free. And you can join a call for free where you can ask questions and have them answered by yours truly and my colleagues. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And all that's left for me to say is bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.